Good morning and welcome to Emerson. My name is Leslie McClane. I'm a member of the worship team, the leadership development team, and the Emerson Choir. Today is the second in our July Voices of Emerson series with members and friends of Emerson leading our services. Our speaker this morning is Bill McClane. Bill started his career as a chemical engineer, but then went on to receive his PhD in industrial organizational psychology. He subsequently taught in Loyola University's MBA program before moving to consulting, where he worked primarily with IBM. His consulting focus has been on organization restructuring with clients including Chevron, HSBC, Walmart, and PepsiCo. Bill and his wife Leslie, that would be me, currently alternate between Marietta, Georgia, and Ferguson, North Carolina. Bill recently retired to the farmhouse in Ferguson, built by his grandfather, where he plants trees and does freelance consulting to pay for the repairs to the farmhouse. Leslie still has a few more years until retirement. They have two grown daughters, Laura, an Arabic translator with the Army, and Lindsay, a freelance French and Russian translator. Our opening hymn this morning is number 288, All Are Architects, in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or in spirit to join in singing number 288.
This is a hymn that might not be familiar to everybody, so I'm going to give you a head start, and I'm going to play the whole thing once through. So you might not be familiar with this. The words are fantastic. So I want to give you the melody first, and then our singers will join you after you hear it.
In recognition of the Cherokee and Muskogee nations of people who lived on this land for centuries before us. And we light a candle in remembrance of the Africans who were enslaved on or near this land and in this country. We acknowledge the suffering and destruction caused by the acts of violence that were perpetrated against them, and we commit ourselves to being a people who will not allow such atrocities to continue. May these candles humbly remind us of our interconnection and the impact of our collective actions. May there be healing in all nations of people. Each Sunday, we also light our chalice. Its light is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism and a reminder of our commitment to be a beacon of love and hope in the world. Today's chalice lighting words are from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Whatever you think you can do or believe you can do, begin it. Action has magic, grace, and power in it. Now, in the spirit of the beloved community, let's greet and welcome each other to worship as we share our congregational affirmation, "We need not think alike to love alike." Those in the sanctuary, feel free to move around to offer a greeting to others. For those online, please use the chat to introduce yourself or unmute to say hello.
Good morning. I'm Jeffrey Jacoby, and I am serving today as a member of our Emerson Pastoral Care Team. And just a reminder, you can light a candle before the service of care over here, or if you're at home, you could do it nearby online. And also, everybody is welcome to enter a joy or sorrow concern. We have this book we keep it on this clear podium right at the back of the sanctuary, and anybody that's coming, if you're a member or if you're just a guest, you can write any kind of sorrow or concern you would like, and we pick up this book just a couple minutes before the service. At this time, we pause to reflect on and share joys and sorrows and concerns in our lives. I invite you to use this moment of pause to take a breath. Notice, what is on your heart today? Are there joys enlivening your spirit? Perhaps there are sorrows or concerns you carry with you today. Allow this time to be a time to give them space, to hold with gentleness and compassion. Take another deep breath in and out as Leslie McClane lights our candles of care, including the large white vigil candle that acknowledges our troops deployed all over the world. Its light represents the light of hope for peaceful resolution of all conflicts on our planet, and it honors all the dedicated people who serve. And now allow yourself to receive these joys from our community. Brody Ritter from Colorado came home from school after completing his 6th grade with just a few signatures in his yearbook. His fellow classmates had declined his request to sign his yearbook, which made him very sad, according to his mother, Cassandra. One of the signatures was from Brody himself, which said, "Hope you make some friends." Cassandra told the Washington Post that these bullying incidents have happened in the past as well, and shared that they broke her heart. And she also revealed that there were kids who pushed Brody, called him names, and saying that her son has been through a lot. Brody's favorite superhero actor, Paul Rudd, reached out to the 12-year-old schoolboy shortly after the story went viral. Rudd sent a signed helmet and a letter in which he reminded him that things get better, and that there are many people who love him. He wrote a personalized note on the helmet saying, "To my good friend Brody for when he takes on the world," and signed it as Paul Rudd, Ant-Man. With an open heart, hold these sorrows and concerns. From Waukegan, Illinois. Friends, neighbors, and dignitaries paid their respects Saturday to the family of Eduardo Uvaldo, one of the 7 people who were killed in the attack on a July 4th parade near Chicago. Uvaldo, who would have turned 70 on Friday, was a native of Mexico who first moved to the United States when he was 15. In an obituary, he was remembered for his love of his large family. He was survived by his wife, Maria, 4 daughters, 4 siblings, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. He was funny, charming, handsome, caring, and most importantly, loving, his obituary read. His presence brought happiness to each family member. A 20-year friend of Uvaldo said, "It's a very difficult time for his family and co-workers," she said. "He was very kind." Uvaldo died Wednesday at an Evanston hospital from wounds suffered during the attack on the parade. Allow your heart to open even more, knowing that there may be joys, sorrows, and concerns not spoken. Please feel free to say out loud or to type into the chat the name of someone you hold in your heart today. Sadie. Bernie. Let's sit in silence for just a moment, allowing ourselves to feel a part of this community of care. And now let's send our heartfelt, caring intentions to all beings everywhere and to ourselves by offering the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. Please repeat the words after me. May we all be filled with loving kindness. May we all be free from harm and suffering. May we all be well in body, heart, and mind. May we all be at peace. Blessed be.
One way we seek to live our values is by partnering with other organizations who work to bring love, kindness, and justice to the world. We encourage our members and friends to support their work financially as we share our weekly collection and also by engaging in direct action. This month, we are in partnership with Live Safe Resources. Live Safe is located in Marietta and is committed to providing safety and healing to those impacted by domestic violence, sexual assault, and elder abuse by offering housing, educational programs, and counseling. They work to create awareness and foster support within the community. They work with women, men, and children, regardless of sexual orientation, gender or gender identity, religion, race, or ethnicity, who have been affected by domestic violence, sexual assault, or elder abuse. A link to ways to give is posted in the chat. For those in the sanctuary, as the basket is passed, please feel free to offer a donation or take a card which describes the many ways to give. All donations, unless otherwise specified, are shared equally.
young at heart, if you'd come to join me up here. By the way, apologies for the lavalier mic. Claude didn't tell me I had to lose weight to use this thing. I always leave something out. Are you on? Here we go. Okay, very good. This is a story about the stone. Not dissimilar to the one we have here. There's a young boy who found the stone. He was working in the field, and he went to see his dad. He said, hey, look what I found. His dad was pretty impressed. He said, I've been tilling this field for a long time. I don't think I've ever seen it. Must have been waiting for you all these years. Right. Can I keep it? You found it. Can I sell it? Of course you can do that too. How much is it worth? I don't know. That's a little harder. So, I'll tell you how we find out what the dad said. So let's take it to the market. And put it out, and when somebody asks you how much you sell the stone for, just hold up 2 fingers. Don't say anything. Just 2 fingers. When I was in India many years ago teaching, there was a place not too far from the university. And so if you had something to sell, you just put a cloth out, and you put your item down on the cloth, and everybody knew you were there to sell the item. The boy did that, went down to the market, and not too long after he was there, a woman came by and said, how much is that? That's a beautiful stone. What will you sell it for? And he did what his dad told him this time anyway. Held up 2 fingers. The lady was really impressed. $2. I'll take it. I love this stuff. So the boy did as he was told. Didn't say anything. Went back to his dad and said, hey, look, guess what? The lady offered me $2 for this stone. Not bad, huh? Sell it? Yeah. No, we can sell it. Yeah, this. Very good. We're going to have more of it. How's that, Clark? No. Go ahead. I hear you fine in the back row. Spirits are against us. Oh. How's that? Technical assistance is nearby. How's that?
Just talk loud, Bill.
This works a lot like with clients and technical assistants. They're very nice, they're very friendly, but we don't have any. Okay. The powers that be are telling me that I will have to speak up or get, Try now. How's that? Oh, are we good? Yes. Theme music at this point. That was really good. Okay. That was just to build suspense. That's the only reason we do these things. All right. So, anyway, no, repeat the whole story? Not at all. Okay. But the boy went back to his dad and said, look, this lady offered me $2 for this. And he said, should I sell it? I said, well, I'll tell you what. Let's do something else. Take your stone and go to the financial district. Hang out there. Put your cloth down, just like we did before, and wait. And so sure enough, the guy, this boy went to the financial district. He hung out for a little while. And after a while, a man came out and said, that is really a nice stone. I'd like to have that. Is it for sale? The boy held up 2 fingers, just like he did before. The man said, $20. Not bad. I'll take it. The boy remembered what he was told. He went back and went to his dad and said, guess what? This guy offered me $20 for this stone that I just found in the field. Is that not cool or what? Do you sell it? No. Well, I'll tell you what. Do one more thing for me. Take your stone and go hang out in front of the precious stone store. And wait there for a while and see what happens. So the boy did that. He went back to the precious stone store, put his stone out. He had to wait a little while this time. And eventually a guy came out and he said, "Wow, look at that stone. I've never seen one quite like that before. What's it worth?" The boy held up 2 fingers, just like he'd been told, right? I'm getting the pattern on this, right? So, $200. I'll take it. I want that stone. So the boy went back to his dad. He was very, very polite, nodded and so forth. Said, "Guess what? This guy offered me $200 for this stone. I just found this stone this morning, and I've got a $200 stone in my hand." He said, "That's great. So now you know," his dad said, "how much the stone is worth." And his son wasn't very impressed. He said, "What do you mean how much it's worth? I still don't know. I've talked to 3 different people. I got 3 different prices. What's the stone worth?" He said, "Well," his dad said, "the stone's a lot like your life. For some people, you're going to be a commodity. You're going to be something common, ordinary, And for other people, you'll be precious beyond words. So you decide how much your stone is worth." So what do you think he did? That's where the story ends. So that's right, we have to make up the next story. So we have singing now? Okay, very good. All right, let's try that.
The doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with each other. Thus do we promise to each other.
beautiful. Let's see. I think we have the, where's it? Nope, I just read. Okay. There they are. Beautiful, beautiful. Hey, would you join me? A little bit from Joseph Campbell. Those of you who know his work on the hero's journey and the like will know this fits right in. So, join me on the bolded pieces if you would. We have not even to risk the adventure alone, for the heroes of all time have gone before us. The labyrinth is thoroughly known. We have only to follow the thread of the hero path. And where we thought to find an abomination, we shall find a God. Where we had thought to travel outward, we will come to the center of our own existence. Where we had thought to be alone, we shall be with all the world. Thank you. Very good. So, by the way, thank you for the technical assistance. Unlike most of the technical assistance I get, this one worked. So I really appreciate that. First of all, let me just thank Reverend Deborah for a series of workshops some time ago on building your own sermon or what have you. It actually had a great title, and the content was awesome. So anything you see up here today, don't blame her. She only had the clay that she had to work with, and she did the best she could, but she did a great job. So if that comes up again, let me encourage you to do that. But the content of this little talk really actually came from a congregation not close to here at all. You heard from Leslie that we've begun the process of retiring, moving up to the old family farmhouse. A couple Unitarian congregations near us, actually not too near us, about 35, 45 minutes away. And one of those lay-led services, one of our colleagues chose to talk about stuff. And you'll recognize it immediately as a very Unitarian kind of thing to talk about. It's like the idea was, how do we harvest Earth's natural resources? We turn them into stuff. There's waste, there's pollution on the way, transportation costs, whatever. They turn into items. We take those items, and some of those items we use, some of them we throw away, and some of them we recycle. In most cases, it's a consumption model. And in fact, that's our goal or our role in all of that. We're the consumer. And I left that service kind of depressed. So hopefully you won't leave the service depressed. We'll do the best we can. But the idea, I didn't really want to be just a consumer. I really wanted something more on my tombstone than loyal Amazon Prime customer. But you know, I'm outnumbered and outgamed. I'm old enough to remember when the whole thing was white or whites, and that applied to whether you had teeth or shirt collars. And if you didn't have one or the other, it didn't apply to you, or both of those. But, you know, I'm outnumbered and outgamed, right? It's micro-marketing, social media, and the like, and I'm surrounded by items that are curated for my specific needs and interests. My friends have all been curated too, because I got rid of all those friends that had aberrant political views, we'll just call it that, and on social media. So I'm surrounded by people who think like me, look like me, and it's an echo chamber. But I'm not the one doing the talking. But it did make me think a little bit, really about a small book with a big title. And you may have read this when you were a kid. It's Sir Thomas More, St. Thomas More, if you were a Catholic. And he talked about utopia. And his premise was pretty simple. It's like how to avoid, by the way, he wasn't talking about consumerism. What he's really out to do is simply save your soul. But the idea is very, very similar. So bear with me. Moore's idea was that you could have, rather than the closet full of shirts, you can have the shirt you needed. And when that shirt got a little tatty, you could have a fresh shirt. It looked just like the other shirt that you had. And, you know, the idea is simple. You have what you need, and nobody's things are better than anybody else's. So there's no more lusting after shirts, no more closets full of lightly worn clothing. Salvation is near. So what do you think about it? So Moore's ideas got picked up by a lot of different political thinkers of their time, economists and so forth. And, So if you watch the fall of the Berlin Wall, you watch the swarm of little tribes that went running across, and they all looked alike, other than the colors were slightly different. And you said, well, this is More's idea of how to get to utopia. But it did make me think a little bit, in that what if we sort of played the solution in reverse? The idea behind More's work was that we would avoid temptation by not having any temptation, right? The reason I don't get tempted to have nice new shirts is because I can't have any. What if we played it around the other way? What if we filled ourselves up with purpose so that those temptations weren't so tempting? All right. So, simple enough, because one of the reasons that we get so pulled in on these things is they're exciting and they're new and interesting. They offer us something to focus on and the like. And so what if all that kind of, we could push that aside a little bit? And it's not just consumerism. So one of the things I think is really important to note here, those of you who joined us on the little ethics seminar not too long ago, remember Immanuel Kant? And he talked about the principle of humanity. And the idea was that as an ethical boundary, whenever we move across, treating people as means to an end rather than ends in themselves. His idea was people should always be an end in themselves, not a means to an end. Consumerism treats us as a means to an end, right? So in other words, they may say that it's all about me and whatever else, but nobody's kidding me, right? It's all around how to get me to produce more, consume more, whatever else. But there's a lot of things like that. Willing use of misinformation is another good example where we get used as a means to an end rather than an end in ourselves. So even though we can talk about consumerism, it's only one example of many, many cases in which we get dehumanized and we get disconnected from ourselves as human beings. So my point here would be, if I leave you with anything, is that we reground ourselves in our humanity. We can do a lot of good in terms of repositioning ourselves and becoming more resistant to, all the wonderful things that are positioned for consumerism, all kinds of things that we get challenged by around when we get used for means of other people rather than ourselves. And by the way, sometimes it's well-meaning, sometimes it's not. It doesn't matter. The question is whether we're the end in itself or whether we're the means to an end. We should be the end in itself. So, about the time I was working on that, and just thinking about Sir Thomas More's work and the like, I was planting some apple trees. I told you this was a story that went and had a journey, right? So, planting some apple trees to replace the apple trees that my father had planted, and he would plant apple trees that replaced the ones my grandfather had planted. Kind of a theme. And so, when I was working on that, I ran across a really interesting guy, Tom Moore. Or Thomas Brown, I'm sorry. Thomas Moore is the other guy. Tom Brown was an apple guy. And basically, around the turn of the century, 1905, there was about 7,000 apple varieties in this country alone. Never mind the ones in Europe. And by the time you have modern-day supply chains, and you have the advent of grocery stores and chain stores and so forth, we're down to about 100 now. So it's kind of a loss. So Tom Brown has set off on this mission to find the lost apple trees. Doesn't that sound like a Disney movie, ready to go? And so, he sets out, and right now, he's rediscovered about 1,200 apple varieties that were lost. So pretty cool kind of guy. And he starts off, and he has records that he keeps about apple varieties, nursery records, articles, and so forth. Has conversations with people to understand, hey, I've heard about Granny, whatever her name was, who had an apple tree way back up in the hills. He goes out and he tries to find the apple tree. Sometimes he finds them. They're in a field that used to be an apple orchard. Now it's grown up. It's all in the woods. Sometimes it's by a cabin that's long abandoned. Sometimes it's hidden in plain sight. It's the apple tree in somebody's front yard. You just didn't know what it was. Once he finds that, he then tries to reintroduce that apple. So that's where he gets at the 1,200 apple trees now reintroduced. by now you're wondering whether I've lost it entirely. It's not just the technical problems up here, and maybe the personal problems up here as well. What does Tom Brown have to do with Sir Thomas More? Well, first of all, they were first probably all called Tommy, both called Tommy when they were growing up. But secondly, I think Tom Brown shows the other way of saving your soul, right? So Thomas More had the idea was we should remove temptation. We should stay focused on things that are purposeful, meaningful, and being distracted. We get hijacked by people who, ill-intentioned or not, offer us things that are attractive and the like, consumerism being a good example, but it's only one example. When we get distracted by that, then we're at risk of losing our soul. So Thomas Brown, I think, flips that around. And he offers a way of, I was talking about, filling ourselves up with purpose. Now, just so you know, I think you could do like a whole little sermon series about everyday heroics of everyday people, because I think one of the cool things about finding your purpose is it's very much a role modeling thing. It is not something you wind up with a list of 5 things or whatever else, even though I'm going to share you a list of 5 things. It really is around learning from other people what turns them on, what gets them excited, what fills their lives with purpose, and being able to understand, emulate, and practice that within yourself. And I think that's where, if I were to offer anything, I would just to say, imagine this was a conversation you had with the person sitting in front of you or the person sitting behind you. And you ask them the question, what fills your life with purpose? What are you doing that's really mattering? Not the challenge, that's not intended as a challenge, but as an appreciative inquiry. What are you doing that fills your life with purpose? How are you going about it? What is it that you wake up every morning and you think about how to do something better or be better or give better back to the world? So this is just one conversation among many. We'll just take that and we'll just use it as an example. The other thing you'll notice is it's really very humanist kind of approach, right? It doesn't mean that there is not room for the aspirational, the transformative purpose, right? Heaven knows we need lots more transformative purposes in this planet right now. But on the other hand, my thought would be, let's ground ourselves first with our own humanity, with what it means to be a human, with what it means to be a human in the midst of other humans who went before us and after us. If we can get that down, then that's pretty cool by itself. Then we can talk about transformative purpose as well. But that's for some other sermon. That's for somebody far better than myself. So let's just go on some real basics here. So we'll use our Apple guy as an example. We'll have this conversation. I think there are 5 things that he has to teach us. Connect with the past, nurture curiosity, appreciate with all the senses, connect with others, and give to the future. All right. Did you see anything transformative there? But hopefully you see a lot of grounding stuff. Let's take it apart and apply it in life. Connect with the past. For our apple guy story, it all began with a farmer's market. And he was confronted with an old guy, probably looked like myself. Hopefully he got his mustache to trim a little bit better than mine. But anyway, and he had some oddly shaped apples. And what are those? What's wrong with them, right? Well, they're heirloom apples. See, that explains a lot. They can look ugly if they're heirloom apples. And, there aren't many of these left, and there's a story behind them, about how they were planted and brought over, and they have a particular taste, or they're used for cider, or the pies, or whatever else, and so forth. And Tom Brown was hooked. The idea of all this variety that's gotten lost, right? Imagine, look at the numbers, 7,000 down to 100, right? Look at the loss there. So my observation was when we connect with the past, we don't really simply replicate tradition forward. What we're really trying to do is find the tallest hill to stand on, right? We're trying to find other shoulders to stand on. We're trying to recognize that people went before us, and they had aspirations and hopes and dreams of living a better world and appreciating that world, and they left us something. And we don't have to be simply copycats of it, but shame on us if we don't pull that forward, stand on it, stand on the highest ground, utilize what the good of humanity has gone before us, and bring it forward into lives that are lived now. Connect with the past. Nurture curiosity. Have you ever gotten curious about something? I mean, really, just sort of 0 to 60. Kind of, you're looking at it one day, and it's a light bulb. It's an apple. It's whatever it happens to be. And you suddenly realize, where did that come from? Why is it shaped like that? Ever thought about why why a light bulb is shaped like that? You got to think about that someday. But then the apple, where did it come from? So the thing about curiosity is I think it creates multidimensionality. Because we can go through life and it can be a very, very flat experience, right? Just think about it. Go to the store, pick an apple off the shelf, maybe a green one, maybe a red one, whatever it happens to be, and take it home, you eat it, and then throw it out, whatever. Or you can really get interested in it. And the thing about curiosity is just simply unfolds the item, unfolds the object, whatever it happens to be. And to me, that's part of becoming truly human, is that we look at things and we can see them unfold, we can appreciate them, and we can we can get into them, right? We even talk about it that way. Now, the cool thing about curiosity is it's really hard to be curious about just one thing, all right? You can't just be curious about apples and not curious about pears, and heaven help us, we're not interested in pawpaws either. But the idea is that curiosity has this contagion to it. Once you get fascinated with the world, once you get fascinated and get into the practice of being curious about things, it starts to apply in other things as well. And it makes the world alive. It makes us reconnect with our humanity. Connect with the past, nurture curiosity, appreciate with all the senses. Can an apple make you a better person? Watch somebody smell a good apple, right? Pick it up, smell it. See if they don't smile. See if the world didn't get a little bit better for that person. So to me, the idea of appreciating with all the senses is, once again, we as human beings, we have the senses we have. The way in which we connect with the world is through our senses. And so if we really think about how we are appreciating whatever it is, apples, light bulbs, whatever, then I think they become richer and we become more connected with the world. And by the way, just so you know, you didn't really, I had to have technical assistance a few minutes ago, but, really, I'm a pretty impressive kind of guy. I have X-ray eyes. You didn't know that. I can see the Andromeda string. I can see black holes collapsing into one another. I can see tectonic movement of the plates across the Earth's planet, or the planet Earth. I can see viruses. I can see protons and neutrons. Okay. The fact is that our technology is extending our senses. And so when I talk about, appreciate with all the senses, I really mean all the senses. Really, everything, no holds barred. When you're getting excited, when you're getting into something and trying to understand what it is and trying to appreciate for what it is, it's not just how it touches and smells. It's everything we can bring, the technology brings to us to extend our senses, to increase the richness of this world. So, appreciate with all the senses. Next is connect with others. We have an interesting situation in our country. The Marvel Universe. You didn't think I was going there, did you? But anyway, the Marvel Universe, and if you kind of look at the storyline behind many of our most heroic figures, is they do it alone. And I would offer to you that's just not true. If you think about, so one of the things that Tom shared with me was none of those 1,200 apples he discovered. Everybody, all those apples that he found, or somebody else either found him, helped him found, whatever else. He had a lot of help, is the bottom line. So he may have started the conversation, asked the query and whatever, and he may have got the clipping from the apple tree and brought it back, rescued it from oblivion. That's all fine. But in fact, he too stood on shoulders, not just historical shoulders, but he stood on the shoulders of people around him. And I think the idea of connecting with others, by the way, he noted that he had it easy, right? Everybody likes apples, so everybody's eager to help. So I don't know what if your purpose focuses on something nobody else likes, but that's your problem. You can work on that one. But the idea is that enlist others. Share your purpose. Share what you're working on. Engage them to help you. And by the way,
be willing and excited and eager to help them. You know, one of the things I think is sort of a little bit of a tragedy is that we often have our purposes and we think about it as sort of that inward kind of thing. My purpose, purposeful. I don't talk much about it, whatever else. Talk about it. Enlist others. Reach for others. Grab their hands. And by the way, be helpful for them as well. Because to my way of thinking, not only do we need others in terms of accomplishing, filling ourselves with purpose, accomplishing those things that are valuable to us, they need us desperately. And they need us more than we can possibly imagine. And finally, number 5. So let's see if I can do it right. I would be a terrible Buddhist because I cannot remember lists to save my life. Connect with the past, nurture curiosity, appreciate with all the senses, connect with others, and give to the future. No discussion of purpose would, of course, be without giving to the future. But we already said that I'm going to be very, very grounded here. And, yes, indeed, there's need and room for transformative purpose, but let's focus on some of the essentials. We stand in a stream of humankind. We stand on the shoulders of those who went before us, who had hopes, dreams, and aspirations. We can leverage that. We can build off of it. We can be greater, and we can show appreciation and show the immortality of those who went before us. Same thing works in reverse. The same thing works the other end. So the way Tom put it was, he said, it should be something, whatever you're working on, it should be something that you're personally fascinated by and enjoy, but it should be something for the greater good of others as well. I would just simply offer that it should be something that leaves the world a richer place, not a poorer place. A world with more options, not fewer. We should always be thinking about that next generation as having more options, more examples, and most importantly, more examples of purpose, yours and mine. One more thing about talking with people is that, purposeful living is, like I said, not one of those things you find carved, somewhere on the wall and what have you. You might pick up some truths there, but it's really a role modeling exercise. It's really a connection with other people, what they're working on, what they find purpose in, how they're struggling to, do more than make it through this world, to leave this world a better place. And I think that's the part I would leave you with in terms of connecting with others, is that this, at the end of the day, it's not just more apples. It's more examples of rich lives lived. Rich lives that gave back, rich lives that embraced the world. And that to me is where, the whole idea of going forward and, leaving the future, it's not just more apples and different types. It's more examples of purpose and how you live a purposeful life. The best example we have is your example. So I started off a long time ago. I was sort of dissing Sir Thomas More. He's been dead for 500 years, so he can't defend himself. But he was really right. He's really right. His terminology is different from ours now. So he talked about 7 deadly sins and all like that, and temptation and like. But in his heart, he was really talking about your soul, your being, who you are. And it really is a battle for your soul. It's a battle for your legacy. It's a battle for what will live on after you. And the challenge that happens when you get co-opted in, or that you become a means to an end rather than an end in yourself, is you lose that legacy. So my hope today, if there was anything that we did today that was worthwhile, it would be simply this. Is first of all to appreciate the fact that all of us are working on being purposeful. We need to, and that is our way of connecting and grounding ourselves with our own humanity. That's our way of connecting with the past, appreciating what we have here right now, in the very little time that we have here, and leaving something behind in which there's a better world. And it's also the way in which we create a legacy that is more than just simply a loyal Amazon Prime customer. So, let's see if I do it right. Connect with the past, nurture curiosity, appreciate with all the senses, engage others, and give to the future. So find your apple. Thanks so much.
All right, so our closing hymn, appropriately, is number 118 in the gray hymnal, This Little Light of Mine. Please stand in body or in spirit to join in singing number 118.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
The greatest gift you have to give to all those around you is yourself. You know, the idea of purposeful living is not an inward focused thing. It's an outward focused thing. It starts with the understanding and getting in touch with your own humanity. It goes on though, connecting with what it went before and where we go after. So remember to give your gift and remember to help others give their gifts. So thanks very much. So be it.
We hope you've been nourished in heart and mind by our worship today. If you would like more information about Unitarian Universalism or about participation here at Emerson, please stop by our welcome table in the front entry. I'm not sure if it's Judy or Julie who will be there this morning ready to greet you. Also, please plan to join us next week for Richard Schoenberg's message on the practice of patience. As our chalice is extinguished this morning, please join me in the final words. They are posted in the chat and in the order of service. You don't have the order of service. Hopefully you all know them at this point. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. Please join us for refreshments and fellowship. Where are we doing it today, Millie? In the fellowship hall? For those of you who are unfamiliar, it is directly behind us. You can get to it either hallway. Those of you online, please stay tuned in. You'll be able to go to virtual breakout rooms for fellowship time. And then at 11:15, for those who are interested, we will reconvene here in the sanctuary for worship reflections. Our service is now concluded, but our connection has only begun. Go now in peace and take peace wherever you go.